everybody! And you can't even see my face. Hello, everybody! This is A Pouncing Cat, and welcome to a Minecraft video. Today, we are going to be discussing many things about building. They are the detailing do's and don'ts of Minecraft. So, you can probably already tell by the title what it was, but this is just kind of a bit of an overview of what we are going to be discussing today. This is the bad side, and this is the good side. So, basically what we're going to be doing is we are going to be discussing all of this, how we can improve it to get to something that looks better, similar to this. Alrighty, so the first thing that I want to point out is that this is just kind of a small setting, so you can't do too much with it, otherwise you will overdo it. So you have to be aware of that. So, alright, let's begin. So this is basically just a small place and a small stand selling balloons for 50 cents. And both of them they are the exact same thing. They're both selling balloons for 50 cents. They're both selling blue balloons and red balloons, except as you can tell, this one is not as good as that one because there are a lot of aspects that go into a build to make it look good. So let's begin on this side. So as you can probably tell, it is not very consistent. None of the flowers really go with each other unless you're in a giant flower meadow. They just don't go. The blue and the purple, they go well, but then you get purple and red, and it just doesn't look too good, and then you just have them all cluttered everywhere. So even if you step off the path, then you run into a flower. And honestly, that is quite annoying, because who wants to crush the flowers, even though you can't in Minecraft? I know, right? So, the next thing is also about the vegetation life, and it is the trees. So, as you can kind of tell, if you were just even in an environment with, birch wood, then you could make it work. But you can see back here that every one of these trees has different lighting on it to light up the area. You have to be consistent. So, for example, these are just some ideas. You could use, an end rod in it. You could use glowstone, torches, or sea lantern, but these are just some ideas. But if you're going to do it, then at least choose one or two, or stay consistent. And also be aware is that there's only currently one type of trapdoor in game, unless you're using snapshot versions of Minecraft. And the oak does not look very good with birch wood because of how bright the birch wood is as a white color, so you kind of have to be aware of that if you are in a birch forest. Also, another thing that you could do is, of course, trim down these birch trees and plant saplings of different trees if you wanted your environment to look better to go with your lighting or something along those lines. And then one more thing about the vegetation is these. So you might not even know what these are, because these are this is supposed to be a little pot, and then these are leaves, just kind of some vegetation, just some greenery. Although, as you can tell, this place really doesn't need it because of all the flowers and also the random seeds growing around. Please don't place random seeds growing around. If you are in a farm, that's good. If you are in a balloon stand, you probably just don't want seeds around. That's just my tip. And so you just improve this. Make this actually look like a pot. Don't make it look like a leaf on top of a random block, because then nobody knows what it is. Also, continuing on is not talking about any more vegetation. We are talking about the balloon stand itself. So you can kind of see we used blue and red, but we didn't actually use different textured blocks. They are both wool blocks, so they kind of just look like they're too contrasting. The blue and then straight away red. And also, to me, it kind of looks like a cotton candy stand, even though cotton candy isn't red. It kind of just reminds me if it was a little bit lighter, possibly pink. I don't know if it's just me, but that's what I'm thinking. So, also, the balloons. The balloons are probably the main issue here, and that is not selling as balloons. So these might look okay, but you do notice that A, this is a very costly way to make balloons, and B, it doesn't look very good with the diamond blocks. Also, it's better to use like fences or end rods that are on the end of balloons instead of levers. Don't use levers. Plus, that just flipped up the trapdoor that I didn't mean to do. So just keep that in mind, that levers, you may think that they look like the bottom of the balloon, but fences and end rods look better. You can also go over here and see the red balloon, which happens to be a redstone block, which again is really costly if you can't find redstone, and just looks like a blob of balloon blood. So don't use those two blocks as your balloon. Same thing kind of goes for like the emerald blocks and the gold blocks. If you're creating balloons or something where there's like one block in this situation, try to find a better block that still has the same color palette if you'd like that. But just keep in mind that some of those blocks don't look very good. Alright, and then the last thing about the bad side is these like sources of light, because if you aren't going to use the trees and you can't pick one, then you're going to want some posts with torches on it, or like some glowstone or something along those lines, except this just looks sloppy. It just looks like you just took a stone block out of a mine, placed it here, and then just placed a torch on top of it. So think of a better way to place a torch on top of something where it looks neater and also goes better with your design. Now, the one thing that I will say about this that actually looks good is the floor. I think that the path actually looks quite nice, because you have the same palette running throughout, the same color palette, yet you're using different textures, so it creates a nice effect. But then again, once you combine this with everything else, then it kind of just takes away from like the hard work that you did collecting andesite and polished andesite, and cobblestone is like easy. But alright, now moving on to the better and way improved side from that. So we'll start off with the flowers. So the flowers, as you can tell, are using the same color palette. They're both white. This one has a little bit of a light pastel yellow, so it actually doesn't look bad. It looks quite nice. And then also we have, to add just to this green, since we no longer have all of those crazy colors of the mixing of all the flowers, we now have some bushes as well, which also creates a nice background for our balloon stand. We also have actually chosen something to do for the trees. We have a little torch inside of trapdoors, and once again we did the exact same thing with this tree, so it is staying consistent with that. Now we go over to the balloon stand, and what an improvement. It may still look tiny. It's still two blocks. Except both of these blocks have different textures, so it no longer looks as much like a cotton candy stand. We've also added color to the signs, where it is a different color than just black. We also have the trapdoors around it that just kind of gives it detailing, I suppose. And we have used is that terracotta? I don't think it is. What is it? Yeah, it is. It's glazed terracotta. Yay! And then we also have a fence post, so we could actually hang these balloons on it if you were kind of thinking about that kind of realism. Now, the next thing that I want to point out is let me make a day. The balloons! So go and look at these balloons and take a look at these balloons, and I think that they look much better. They both have a similar texture of using concrete powder, which I believe you can also place concrete powder on end rods. So if you were using end rods instead, you can also do that. And you may also notice that we are using the fence post, but we also have a string going down into the ground. Now, some of you may have seen this trick before, but as you might be able to tell, there's also a lead on here. And what we have done is we have placed a rabbit under the floor, because they are 1 block long, so we don't have to give them too much room. And, oh, well, I guess I broke a hole, so those two are together. Oh, yeah, they have friends. And you basically just cover up the grass. You hook the rabbit up to your fence or your balloon, and then you just cover it up with whatever floor you have, and then you have a string that leads to the ground as though it is attached, and then your balloons don't look like they are going to float away endlessly into the sunset. And also the path is quite similar, except this path is more straightforward. It's just kind of like a small curve, except this place is just kind of more of like a little forest setting. So it's not a perfect pathway, although we are still using the same types of blocks. We also have, for more of our vegetation, we have definitely improved this, because this was just bad. And then here we go, we have a nice flower pot. There's many different ways to make flower pots like this, except this is actually a shulker box, a gray shulker box, except it looks like the same color as an anvil. So I just placed a gray shulker box, I think it's actually dark gray, but a gray shulker box on top of an anvil and then a leaf block. So then we have a nicer way of actually showing off our vegetation. We also have a little cart here, so let's go and wheel around some wheat. Let's go wheel around some wheat. Alright, so yeah, enough of the wheat song, because that just looks weird. And the last thing that I want to point out are these. So these are actually cobblestone walls and mossy cobblestone walls. Once again, for the foresty setting, for the vegetation setting, to have all of this greenery. Sometimes it's nice to mix in like moss if there's a moss block. So for example, cobblestone has, I don't know where it is. Yeah, mossy cobblestone. And then stone bricks has mossy stone bricks. So for example, here you go. So that is just kind of the mossy variant of those kind of things. So it's nice to add in those details if you possibly can. Here are the cobblestone walls, which are an improvement from just the stone block that looks like it was just taken out of a mine and just placed there. And I believe that this is about it. I think that I cover practically everything. So I hope that you all have enjoyed this kind of short video about detailing, and then there's just a random balloon. Woo! Oh, I thought I could break that. And so this was just kind of a short thing with detailing. Once again, you can't see my head. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's nice. And I hope that you all have enjoyed this video, and I will see you later. Bye!